Today I'll be talking to students, academics, project managers, and the likes about the basic ingredients of writing a good abstract for your research. Let's get along. Let's answer the question why. Why is it important to have a very good abstract? It is important to do this right, to have a very good abstract, because that is the first thing someone sees in your research paper or your thesis. It often determines whether someone will proceed to read your full paper or drop the whole thing entirely. It also tells about the quality of your work and sometimes your quality as a writer or researcher or a student. So it is absolutely imperative to do this right. To do this right, you need to know the basic structure of a good abstract. The first thing you see in a good abstract is the introduction or background of the abstract itself. Now, where are you coming from? What led to what you're trying to do here? What is the reason for writing and what is the importance of this research? The second thing you see after this, after the introduction or background, is the problem. What problem are you trying to solve, or what problem does this research seek to solve in the society, or I don't know. Thirdly, what you see is the methodology. An abstract of a scientific work may introduce the specific models or strategies adopted in the bigger study. For the arts and humanities, it may include the theoretical or the conceptual framework for the study. Now, this is not a hard rule, and there's nothing concrete about this. There are some interdisciplinary studies out there that would have models and and conceptual framework and theories, because maybe they're coming from different disciplinary angles towards solving the problem they seek to solve. So basically, the methodology comes third. The number four thing you see is the findings or results based on your analysis and based on what you did in the first three category steps. So briefly say what the basic findings are in your abstract. And lastly, you briefly tell us your conclusion or implication of the study. So if you put all this together, your introduction, your problem statement, your methodology, your results, and the conclusion, you have a very concise abstract. Now, having looked at the basic structure of a good abstract, let's look at the 5 qualities of a good abstract. Number 1 quality is that an abstract briefly explains the content of the research itself in a concise manner. So an abstract is like a condensed summary. So it has to briefly explain the whole research itself. If your abstract can do that, it's a good abstract. Secondly, your abstract should be accurate, succinct, self-contained, and readable, in the sense that it has to be concise. Briefly, you should know how to manage your words well, no flowery words, no extra words, know how to manage your content, know how to summarize your ideas, and make sure that it makes sense in the simplest of terms, so that someone out there will pick it without stress, will understand what your research is about in 5 minutes. Now, thirdly, the abstract should paraphrase and summarize rather than quote from the paper. So don't go quoting authors, but make sure you tie everything together and then look for beautiful ways to summarize it in simple sentences or in simple terms. So don't go quoting authors in your paper. When one gets into the paper, you start seeing those quotes and those elaborate ideas. But for the abstract, it has to be very brief, and don't go quoting. Number 4 is that the abstract should relate only to the paper at hand, or the paper it is introducing, or the paper it is representing, not something else. Make sure your abstract is totally relevant to the discourse the reader will end up reading later, not something else entirely, because sometimes you have abstracts talking about some studies that have been done somewhere or somehow, but make sure your abstract is talking about the work the reader will end up reading, or the assessor will end up reading in this sense now. And lastly, a good abstract will be between 150 and 250 words, but then it might be more than this in, say, abstract for theses or dissertations. But the basic thing is be as brief as possible, summarize and be concise, communicate your ideas in simple and clear terms. Now, lastly, I keep getting this question about references in abstract. Are references required in abstracts? Now, usually references are not allowed in abstract. However, in some cases, they are allowed. And those cases are in cases where you have used a certain reference heavily as a conceptual framework or theoretical framework or methodology on which your study relied heavily. In such cases, you just might want to include the reference. Yeah, just quote the author, because yes, this is now, your work is really tied to what this author said or what this author did. So it's important for you to quote it in your abstract. So if you feel compelled to do it in this way under this kind of condition, please by all means do. And that's it. I wish you all the best in your projects this year as students, as academics. And please, if you found this content helpful, you can like and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.